Hello again. Thank you for being here. I listened to your testimony. I sincerely believe you want to help to do something about trafficking. I'm going to take you up on that. I want to give you an opportunity because I know you've been under the spotlight with this Epstein thing, and I don't want to come at you with facts, but I want to give you an opportunity if you want to just explain some things, because I think sex trafficking is one of the scourges of humanity right now. And I think my colleague here laid out some of the basic facts, but it sounded like this Jeffrey Epstein, according to, there was a Miami Herald article, and then I know there were some comments made by the Palm Beach police that anywhere from 50 to 80 young women that they even actually knew about were victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Does that sound about right?
I can't comment as to the specific number, but he had multiple victims, yes.
So he ends up getting a deal where he's, I guess, a couple of prostitution, felony charges, state charges. The federal charges were there ever federal charges? Because the Miami Herald article said that he was facing 53 federal indictments.
There were, if I could just provide a brief overview, Congresswoman.
Yes, please, I would appreciate it.
This matter, this was a state matter. And it was presented by the then state attorney to a grand jury in Palm Beach County. The grand jury reviewed the evidence, looked at what was available, and the grand jury recommended a single charge that would have required no jail time.
If I might just, not to be rude to interrupt you, but before it went to the state, it was my understanding that it was actually, he was facing 53
That is incorrect.
Was he facing any federal charges?
That is incorrect, Congresswoman. This started as a state matter.
But what happened? I mean, there was an article that said, I mean, you could tell me maybe this didn't happen, but there was an article that said that that Epstein's attorneys negotiated a deal with you at the Marriott Hotel.
West Palm Beach. If I could walk you through the facts, and this is supported by the public record. So this was a state matter. It was investigated by local police, and it was taken to the state attorney's office. The state attorney took this matter to a grand jury, presented all the evidence.
How did you get involved?
I'm leading up to that.
Right.
Presented all the evidence to the grand jury, and the grand jury considered it and recommended one charge that would have required no jail time, no registration at all, and no restitution to any of the victims. He would have, in essence, gotten away. And that's when the local police went to federal authorities. And those that have been involved, you're an attorney, Congressman, those who have been involved in the legal system know that once someone is arraigned, because he had been arraigned on that one state charge, once someone's arraigned, it's exceedingly rare, it is rare, for a federal prosecution to also take place. But our attorneys looked at that, and they said, Epstein should not be able to walk away with no jail time, no registration, and no restitution. And so they informed his attorneys that that if something else wasn't done, that a second federal prosecution could take place, because, and this is something that's important for the public to understand, you can be prosecuted by the state, and if that's insufficient, you can also be prosecuted by the federal government.
I have a limited time, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude with you, but there was a report in the Miami Herald that you actually had a meeting with Epstein's attorney at the Marriott Hotel in West Palm Beach, where he convinced you not to either drop the charges or not look into the charges. And then there is some mention that perhaps Mr. Epstein gave you information about other people. Is any of that correct?
There's a lot of information in the public record that is not correct. I saw that report in the Herald, and it referenced October 2007, I believe, and I looked at the date on which the agreement was signed, where the federal authorities said they would defer to the state attorney if he actually went to jail, if he actually registered as a sex offender and paid restitution. And the date for that meeting post-dated the agreement. It didn't predate.
Did that meeting take place?
Congressman, this was 12 years ago. I don't remember, but I do know because I looked it up. I'm like, what's going on here? That the agreement was actually signed in September and the meeting took place in October after the agreement was signed. And so the answer is that could not have been part of that agreement.
Okay, so I'm going to yield back just to say this, that my community is still very upset about this. And I hope there will be another opportunity to really flesh this out and give you an opportunity to answer all these allegations, because I think we can all agree that a very vile, disgusting man who molested underage girls, lots and lots of them, really got off the hook. So, and with that, again, I'm going to take you up on helping me on this bipartisan trafficking bill, and I yield back. Congressman Cole.
I hadn't intended to ask you anything about the matter we just discussed, but I do feel compelled just to, if you needed to add something to extend the time to you, if you wanted to put something on the record or respond anyway. If we've cut you off, it's certainly not anybody's intent. We operate under limited time. So, but I want to give you the opportunity to respond to anything you'd like, Mr. Secretary.
Congressman, I appreciate that. And let me just say, I understand their frustration. I think it's important to understand he was going to get off entirely without any, other than something that would have required no jail time, no registration, and no restitution. He was going to get off. And it was the work of our office that resulted in him going to jail. It was the work of our office that resulted in his having to register and put the world on notice that he's a sex offender, and put all these other victims potentially in the future on notice that he's a sex offender. And you know, there's a lot of reference made to how he was imprisoned by Palm Beach County after the fact. That was a state plea, and that was determined under Florida law. That was not, and I've been on record as condemning the terms of his incarceration, because that the work release, I understand why folks are upset. That was Florida law. That was not a federal decision. So I think it's important to separate what is Florida and what is federal.
Thank you very much. And just for the record, I've had the opportunity to work with you for a couple of years, and I find you a person of great integrity, great ability, and great skill. And I think the president made a wise choice when he chose you for this position. And I think you've more than made him proud, or made more than done your job. And I just thought that ought to be in the record as well. So thank you for your service.